Hello again, fellow audiophiles. I am Wave Theory, and this is the Focal Utopia 2022, a $5,000 dynamic driver open back headphone. Now, wait a minute, you might be saying, Wave Theory, haven't you already reviewed the Focal Utopia 2022? And the answer to that question is yes, I have, back in December of 2022. In fact, I did a full review and fairly detailed comparison of the 22 with the original Utopia, which I still have one of those over here that I keep around as a reference piece. This unit was loaned to me recently by Gingko Audio so that I could do a review of their Lazuli Poem, their Dana Cable's Lazuli Poem headphone cable that was voiced for this. And since it's here, I decided, you know what? I'll do a take two video. So after it being almost 2 years since I reviewed this one and having heard a bunch of other headphones in between, do I still like this one? Is it still worth $5,000 here 2 years after its release? And so forth. Find out my thoughts on those questions right after shameless self-promotion.
Hello. I'm one of the reasons that Wave Theory can't spend all of his money on audio gear. He wants you to know that your support is vital for keeping the channel running. So if you enjoy Wave Theory's bussin' review riz and no-cap review style and want to encourage him to stay in the basement so I don't have to listen to his dad jokes as much, like the video and subscribe to the channel. You can also send him a donation on PayPal or sign up for the Patreon. Links are in the description. Now on to the review.
So my general takeaway here, after having spent a few weeks with the Utopia 2022 again here in 2024, is that it still is an elite headphone. Like, it is still one of the best headphones that planet Earth has to offer. It just is quite spectacular. It is not cheap, but it does some things very well, and it just sounds great. And it's one of the headphones that I think at the top of the line that does truly command and earn its price point. And so, you know, and I haven't thought that all of them have. Okay, so let's unpack some of the details on this a little bit more. I'm not going to go over the build and the design and all of that again, because you can see my previous review where I talk about all of that. I want to get back into the sound a little bit and like say, has my opinion on this changed at all? And not really. Like, I went back and watched my original review of the 2022 here, and it matched my perception of what it was this time around, right? Like, I should say I watched that 2022 review, the original there that I released in December of that year, after I had spent the last few weeks listening to this one, and my impressions were mostly the same. It is warmer and a little bit smoother and a little bit more forgiving than the original Utopia, which I still listen to quite a lot and like quite a lot. And it's just a little bit more resolving, a little bit more holographic, a little bit more three-dimensional, and all of that than the original too. It, to my ears, is right behind still the original Hi-Fi Men Susvara, okay, which I have right here. It's just behind the Susvara in terms of the total package of sounding real, right? It is a little bit different presentation than the Susvara, but it is very, very close to it. And that takeaway that I had back in December of 2022 very much still holds up now. Okay, and so like it is, again, one of the best headphones on earth and just right behind this one. So there's not a whole lot more to say in this Take Two video other than no, my opinion of the 2022 Focal Utopia really has not changed much in terms of overall sound. Now, one thing that I noticed this time around, since I had a little bit more variable signal chains to be able to test the 2022 on than I did back in my first review, I couldn't comment as much on the signal chain pickiness back then that the original Utopia is known for. The original Utopia is not a nice headphone, right? it can sound wonderful and amazing and angelic and all that on the right signal chain for it. But if you deviate away from the signal chain that it likes, from a signal chain that it likes, it will scream at you, right? Contrast that with the Susvara, which I'll hold back up again. Like the Susvara here is also signal chain picky, but when there is an issue in the signal chain that it doesn't like, it doesn't freak out at you. Like, it will point it out to you and let you know about it, but it will still be an overall listenable experience. Let me bring this one over here. Okay. The way that these two handled bad recordings or signal chains that they didn't like is just very different. Like, they both are so resolving that they will, reveal to you every little change or problem in your signal chain. It's just that when the Utopia does it, it's angrier. I have used this analogy before, but the Susvara is like, that partner who tells you, hey, you've put on looks like you may have put on a few pounds there. Are you under a lot of stress? Okay, are you doing okay? So they give you the bad news, but it's delivered in a polite way. Whereas the Utopia will look at you and yell, put down the fork, you lardo. Okay, like, it's really rude about pointing out bad recordings or signal chain issues. The Utopia 2022 is not quite as bad as the original. It does not freak out quite as hard when the recording is bad or there's something in the signal chain that it doesn't love. But it's definitely not as nice as the Susvara about it. So the signal chain compatibility with the U22 or the Utopia, I think, is a little bit broader than the original model, okay, but it's still not as broad as the Susvara, provided that your amplifier is powerful enough to drive the Susvara. Okay, so that was one thing that I noticed this time around that stood out a little bit more than what I was able to detect the first time around when I had the Utopia 2022 in. Okay, but again, other than that, the sound impression is very much the same as my first review. And again, I do think that, the Susvara and the Utopia series here are in that top of the line tier where they actually do command their price. Like, they are a significant step up in performance from like the $2,000, $2,500 models that are out there. And I don't think that about all of the top of the line models out there. Some units from Meze and Abyss, for example, and like the Yamaha YH5000 SE, the final D8000 Pro and all that, and the Dan Clark Expanse, like, some of those I'm not quite convinced are quite up in that $4,000 to $5,000 range in terms of you're getting a return on investment for performance. But the Utopias definitely are, the Susvara definitely is, and so forth. So I still think, again, it's one of the best headphones on the planet. All right, I will go ahead and leave it there. This has been a take 2 of the Focal Utopia 2022. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Check out my PayPal, my Patreon, and generally do those things you do to support YouTube channels. And as always, enjoy the music.